One of the biggest discussions heading into 2025 will be about Davey Martinez. And now, looking into 2025, the Nationals have not made the postseason since 2019. Should Davey Martinez be managing for his job?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube. Again, just search Locked On Nationals there. You'll find every single episode of Locked On Nationals again, and hit that subscriber button. Later on in today's show, the Mets have officially gotten past the Philadelphia Phillies, and they are headed to the NLCS. And I hate to say it, but if you remember a few weeks ago, I did say this could be a team of destiny, and they remind me of the 2019 Washington Nationals. So let's get into that later on in today's show and also preview the rest of the postseason today. Also, the Nats have a couple free agents, none of whom are really big names at this point, but who should the Nationals bring back and who should they not bring back? There are a couple names here. We got 4 different names, and the Nationals, they've got some decisions to make that we'll discuss later on. But is Davey Martinez managing for his job? Well, I think he might be in the year of 2025. But you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. So we get started discussing Davey Martinez, and while he could be managing for his job in 2025, but the better question is will he be managing for his job? I do think in a sense, Davey Martinez will be. But there's a couple of things that have to happen before we make that judgment. First and foremost, if the Nationals do decide to put a contending team out there, meaning if the Nationals and the ownership do invest, number one, if they invest in free agents, then you should be able to contend in 2025. Contending in 2025, in my opinion, looks a lot different than what people may expect. Number one, you have your guys, your core group of guys that we have talked about really for the last week here. CJ Abrams, James Wood, and Dylan Cruz. Your core 3 guys, and also your pitching staff, Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, Keibert Ruiz as well as your catcher. Those main guys have to take step ups. They do. It is getting past the phase where we are just sitting here patiently for a contending team. Us fans, you out there, myself as well, we want to see a winner. It is time to see a winner. And in order to see a winner, a lot of different things have to happen. Number one, again, free agency. You have to go out there and find some way to get more talent through this door that is not just coming from this farm system. While the farm system is in a better place than it ever has been over the last probably decade, really talking about this Nationals team, you still need more. And I expect more. Whether it's going out there and making a splash free agent signing, whether it looks like making a big trade for someone out there, whether it's a starting pitcher, a Garrett Crochet maybe. I'll even throw out a name, Tariq Skubal from the Detroit Tigers maybe. I don't know. The Nationals, they have to do something, though. They do. Because the time is not yesterday. The time is not tomorrow. The time is now. You have to put a contending team out there. You've got this window now that is opening with James Wood and CJ Abrams and Dylan Cruz on this roster where you have 3 potential superstar kind of players on this team ready to build on this second. You have to take advantage of that. And if I'm Davey Martinez, I am pleading with ownership. to say, please get me more talent through this door. So to answer the question with Davey, if the ownership and Mike Rizzo, if they do get the talent through this door, then yes, I do believe Davey Martinez will be managing for his job. But let's kind of get into it a little bit deeper than that. I've always kind of had Davey Martinez's back. I think Davey Martinez is a perfectly fine manager. Davey is a player's guy. In baseball, I do think that is important. When you play 162 games, you are with those guys all day, every single day. It is a family. It really is. And really in any sport as well. But in particular for baseball, it's just different. You get there to the field at noon for a 7 o'clock game, and you're there all the way till 10:30 at night. You spend most of your day around those guys. So when you have a manager like Davey Martinez, who's kind of that player's coach mentality, that is a good thing. That is what you want as a manager. That's always what I've seeked out, because we have seen the kind of the hard-headed managers here in town. We've seen it with Matt Williams back in the day. It started out great. The Nationals were awesome in 2014. But then it fell apart in 2015 once he lost the clubhouse. Then you saw the loosey-goosey, fun manager that everybody loves, Dusty Baker. He was awesome, but he was not good in-game managing. Now, while I do think Davey Martinez kind of leans more towards that Dusty Baker side than the Matt Williams side of things, I think he's got a pretty fair balance of knowing when to kind of hunker down and place discipline on guys, in which we've seen with CJ Abrams this season. Davey Martinez is not the best manager out there. Don't get this twisted. But one thing is for sure, if the Nationals do decide to move on from Davey Martinez after this season, then he will be seeked out by a contending team. He has proven time and time again, back really only 1 year in 2019, that he can press the right buttons, that he does know how to manage a loaded team full of talent. And even then, the Nationals bullpen in 2019 was not that good. Davey Martinez managed that to a T. Did a great job managing throughout that postseason. That's something I can't forget. And if we give him that opportunity this season with a lot more talent in hand, with guys taking a step up, then I'd like to see what he can do. Because again, Davey Martinez, he's not the best manager out there, but I do think he's above average. And are you comfortable going out this offseason in particular saying, yeah, we could probably move on and find someone better? I'm sure you could. But also, I don't really think Davey Martinez is broken. The failures of the last few seasons, they are not on Davey Martinez. He has been just treading water this entire time, trying to manufacture wins with, let's be honest, a pretty poor roster, while guys are developing on the fly. Get a 21-year-old shortstop 2 years ago with CJ, who now turned into an all-star this year. Is that all on Davey Martinez? No. But also, he's done a pretty damn good job at doing the things that he can control. And some people go out there and say, well, his bullpen decisions during the regular season, what are we doing there? Why are you putting Jordan Weems in a one-run game? Okay. What are your other options? It's not a Davey Martinez problem over these last few seasons. It has been a talent problem. That starts at the top. Not investing in your team, not investing in your farm system. But now you do have the farm system. You also have to invest in the team as well. You can't have the bottom of the barrel payroll again. You just can't. So in order for me to feel comfortable moving off of Davey Martinez, I would have to kind of have a deeper discussion than just saying, well, we haven't been that good the last few seasons. It's not that easy. He can't manage this team. No one can manage this team. No one can manufacture wins with the talent that we have had over the last few seasons. And even then, the first half of this year, the Nationals just being in the wild card picture enough was perfectly fine with me. So at this point in time, I do think if the Nationals spend, if they do go out in free agency or make a big splash trade and get more talent through the door here, and the Nationals do miss the postseason, then we'll have a real conversation about Davey Martinez moving forward with this organization. But at this point, I'm not ready for it, and I'm not going to stand for it. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next, let's talk about some Nats free agents because there's some interesting ones here. We'll get into it after we tell you about our friends over at PrizePicks. And of course, I have told you guys plenty of times about PrizePicks, and PrizePicks is the best place to get real money on sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. And of course, I can tell you guys about all my different experiences with PrizePicks. Maybe you think Justin Jefferson goes more than 83.5 receiving yards and Patrick Mahomes goes less than 267.5 passing yards. Tyreek Hill, maybe he goes over 97.5 receiving yards, or Saquon Barkley for the Philadelphia Eagles goes less than 67.5 rush yards. You can find all of that with our friends over at PrizePicks, because PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, let me tell you guys about our friends over at Booking.com. And of course, this episode of Locked On Nationals is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Maybe you want to head up to New York for the NLCS. Well, you can do that and go incognito and find some of the best hotels in the right state just for you over at Booking.com. And it's time to taste your baseball's maybe your least favorite stadiums like Citi Field, or maybe you just want to go up to New York and catch the postseason environment as the New York Yankees and as well as the New York Mets are in the middle of a postseason stretch here. Booking.com's wide variety of choices across the U.S., you can go to them anytime. And Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home teams or rival stadiums. And of course, there's hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts to cute bed and breakfast stays. Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Again, search us up wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever it is. Search Locked On Nationals, hit that subscriber button, download it as well. Anything is appreciated. But we get into some Nationals free agents and which Nationals free agents will be returning and which will not be. First and foremost, let's list the free agents. Joey Gallo, Trevor Williams, Patrick Corbin, Jacob Barnes. At this point in time, I only think one of these guys return, and it comes in the form of Jacob Barnes. I think Patrick Corbin is gone. I think Trevor Williams is gone, and I most certainly think Joey Gallo is gone. Now, my reasoning for that is I am actually kind of weird in this sense, I believe. I think Jacob Barnes was not that bad for the Nationals this season. Now, while he wasn't like great, the Nationals did not really have that good of a bullpen. You do have a lot of young pieces that I think are really bright. Kyle Finnegan was an all-star this year, but even then, I think Kyle Finnegan is a little bit of fool's gold. We'll get into his breakdown next week, and you'll hear what I have to say about that. Patrick Corbin, he's Patrick Corbin. He might get a spring training invite to another organization, but it won't be here. Trevor Williams had a really good season this year, got hurt for the majority of the summer, but he was really good. I think Trevor Williams moves on to a contender where he was kind of with the Mets just 2 years ago, kind of playing in that bullpen / starter role, that fireman kind of carry that I could see Trevor Williams doing well at. And then as far as Joey Gallo goes, think that this was probably the end of the road for him getting a major league contract. He's so good defensively, but also what he does at the plate is pretty damn minimal. He's not going to do that much. He's not going to be the all-star Joey Gallo from the Texas Rangers that we all knew and kind of hoped that he would come back to be someday. But the reason why Joey Gallo is kind of like an intriguing option here and why he's even in discussion at this point is because of his power. I would not be completely surprised if the Nationals do decide to say, we're going to bring back Joey Gallo. Not on some lucrative kind of deal, a 1-year, $5 million deal. I don't expect that. I don't think you should expect that either. But I would think at this point, Joey Gallo will get another opportunity in the big leagues. Is it going to be here? I don't believe so, but I would not be surprised. Trevor Williams, on the other hand, I look at our starting pitchers and where does he fit? Where does he fit down the line with this team? You've got your ace with Mackenzie Gore, and even then you could probably do better. You've got Jake Irvin. You've got DJ Hers. That's 3 already. You've got Cade Cavalli that you expect back from Tommy John this year. That's 4. And then your 5th one, is it going to be Josiah Gray in the second half of next year? It will be. But also, you can make the case for the Nationals going out there and making an adjustment and signing a big free agent or making a big splash trade. I don't know how that would look, but also Mitchell Parker, who is in the fold as well. Maybe the Nationals decide to go out with those 5 guys. Again, you have Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, you've got Mitchell Parker, DJ Hers. I don't know what the Nationals will decide to do, but I don't see the Nationals bringing back Trevor Williams. I think he goes to a contending team, someone who could be like a 5th starter for them, a bullpen kind of guy who comes in to save the day, make a spot start every now and then. That's what I think the kind of role that Trevor Williams will play. And while he was good this year, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back. But if I'm the Nationals, I'd kind of look myself in the mirror and say, we need to make an upgrade. We can't have Trevor Williams come back because we know what his ceiling is. He'll give us 5 innings. He'll strike out a handful of guys. He'll give up a few hits. He'll have minimal damage overall, but he's not going to get the job done. I could see him going to a team like the Royals or something like that, or the Tigers, maybe. I just don't see Trevor Williams fitting in the foundation for this team moving forward, especially if you want to take that next step up. You need more than Trevor Williams. That's why I don't see him in the fold. Patrick Corbin, on the other hand, do I need to go into it? Do we? I'm sorry, but Patrick Corbin, he might get a spring training invite somewhere else. But even then, I would not be surprised if he's done after this and calls it a career. But we'll see what Patrick Corbin does. He did say that he does feel as if he does have more baseball left in him. I just don't think it's going to be here in DC. So Jacob Barnes, though, he's the one guy I do see the Nationals bringing back. And if you kind of think about that, it's a little sad. Like, it just is. You only have 4 free agents, none of whom are real big impact kind of players. Trevor Williams was an impact player this year, but it's hard to look past what he did in 2023, which was not much. So at this point in time, this is a pretty sad state of free agents for the Washington Nationals overall. And I think when I was looking at that on paper the other day, I was scratching my head a little bit. How do we even discuss this? Because is there really even an option to go forward with any of these guys? And I don't think so. But if there is one guy, which I would actually be interested in bringing back, it's Jacob Barnes. Maybe he comes out this year and blows it up just like he did this past season. And you trade him at the deadline for something, whether it's an Andres Chaparro type or whoever. I could see the Nationals doing that. And honestly, it would make pretty decent sense if they did decide to bring him back. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next, the Mets are in the NLCS, and one of the NL East teams had to have been in it. It was the Mets or it was the Phillies. I did not want to see the Phillies in it. I also didn't want to see the Mets, but I certainly did not want to see the Phillies in it. But the Mets are in the NLCS, and they take on the Dodgers or the Padres. It'll be an interesting NLCS, so let's get into some postseason talk as the season continues to go on. Postseason baseball has been awesome this year. Before we get into it, though, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. And hey, NFL fans, you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel, which is, by the way, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. The other day, I had a hunch that Brian Robinson would score a touchdown for the Washington Commanders, and also anytime touchdown score for De'Ami Brown. I did that with our friends over at FanDuel. And if you haven't used FanDuel, I have a good deal just for you. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets. That is guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Again, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So for this NFL Sunday, you'll be loaded with cash with our friends at FanDuel, and you can place all the bets that you want and make your Sunday even more enjoyable. All you have to do is go to America's #1 sportsbook, that is FanDuel.com, and download the app today. Again, go to FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook, which is FanDuel. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Now let's get into some postseason baseball, as you have got a couple of game fours today. The ALDS with the Guardians and the Tigers facing off against one another. The Detroit Tigers lead the series 2-1, which would be a huge upset against the Guardians. A lot of people thought the Guardians would have a pretty damn easy run to the ALCS. Everyone thought that their pitching would be unbeatable at this point, but that has not been the case whatsoever. The Tigers have this weird kind of sexiness and appeal around them to where I just don't know who could beat them at this point. And if you're the Royals or the Yankees, who also play game 4 tonight with the Yankees leading that series 2-1, you don't want to run into this Tigers team. There's kind of like this no-name bunch who, obviously outside of Tariq Skubal, who's going to win your Cy Young, should win it unanimously, but we all know how baseball voters get. It's a little weird and wacky, and they all have their own different ways out there. So, but Skubal is the best pitcher in all of baseball right now, the most dominant postseason pitcher. He won't be going today for the Tigers, but still, it has been an unbelievable watch going into this postseason. And if it is a game 5 in Cleveland, Skubal will be on the mound, and if you're the Guardians, rather, you do not want to see him in a game 5. So they kick off today at 6:08 p.m. Eastern time, and then the Yankees and the Royals, they are set between Garrett Cole and Michael Wacha, 2 veterans who have been there and done that in the postseason. That is going to be an interesting game. The Yankees, you're up 2-1. You have Jazz Chisholm kind of running his mouth a little bit. He did get away with it yesterday as they did go up 2-1 in that series. But you're going up against Michael Wacha, who, again, has had the postseason experience, whether it's with the Cardinals back in the day where he was expected to be the next big thing. Didn't really pan out to be just that, but still a very good veteran-like pitcher. I would not just roll over here if I'm the Yankees. And also, by the way, I should add, the likely AL MVP, who will win it again, Aaron Judge, has done absolutely nothing this postseason. Nothing. And our old friend Juan Soto, he had 3 hits in the first game, but really also other than that, pretty minimal damage from those 2 beasts at the Bronx. So we'll see what happens tonight. It'll be some interesting, fun conversations with baseball, but until then, enjoy postseason baseball. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Go Nats.